Okay, so the next, accessible data set is the U.S. Department of Agriculture, National Agricultural Statistical Services cropland data layers. That's in front of your screens. It's called Cropscape. And this data set, as you can see right away on the left panel, you have different years for which you can display or visualize this data set. What's on this data set? It says Cropscape. So as the name suggests, it is mostly its utility is supposed to be the cropland distribution across the United States. So when we look at this region where my pointer is, when we look at this region where you have these yellow and green concentrations, my pointer is moving. It's going from North Dakota to South Dakota to Nebraska, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, coming back Wisconsin, Minnesota. This is called as the Corn Belt. This is a significant agricultural region in the world, and it is very important to understand how land use decisions are being taken in this world. So, in this area, and so these data set have a very high utility. They are highly cited, highly used. Interested students can find thousands of papers, which use Cropscape, and given that Cropscape was launched only in 2012-13, so we have really only had a decade of the existence of Cropscape. Cropscape is quite updates itself quite frequently. So we have the 2021 data set already available. So what we can do here is that if I click on 2021 on this radio, I get the land use distribution for the year 2021. So if I go back to 2028, I have, I see that around the Kansas region, you had a lot of these brown pixels or the brownish shade which disappears or changes in 2021, right? So that's interesting, right? So how does this layer then help us understand the data better? So it also provides us a legend. So the legend is that corn is yellow. You have reds, which are cotton. You see around Texas area, you see a lot of cotton. So you see some kind of a regional specialization happening in the United States as far as their agriculture is concerned. Rice, they have right. So they have rice. I see some rice around here in California. Right, then I see some sorghum and soybeans. Soybeans are dark greens. There are a lot of soybeans around here, right? The sorghum is sort of here. The orange shade is here, right? So we can see, we can toggle, across different years, and this data set may take a little bit to load. So stay patient with it, all right? So we can do that, and just like in the Bhuvan data set that we saw in the previous lecture, we can also delineate a area of interest. So you can see that I can select a state. I'm going to just select any state. Let's say I select Michigan, and I say submit, and this will then draw an area of interest for me by itself. So this is all happening online on your personal computers. You can, as I'm doing it, you can do it as well, right? So it takes a little bit to load, but what it really is doing is it's creating this area of interest for me for analysis. So you have different buttons here. You can define your own area of interest, just like we had in case of the Bhuvan data set that we saw previously. We can also import an area of interest, right? So let's say if you want to study a given national park, right? For example, in India, we have the Jim Corbett National Park. If we have a shape file or a file which we can then import online onto this website, it will then draw it for us, a pre-drawn polygon that we can source from somewhere else, right? We can clear this. If I click, I can clear this defined area of interest. But what's very interesting is I can then, just like in Bhuvan, I can actually, click and get, the statistics for different crop types or different land use types for my area of interest. So I have corn with value 1, which is yellow, right, is pixel count this many and acreage this much. Then you have sorghum, not so much acreage, then soybeans, quite a bit of acreage. So clearly in Michigan, you have a lot of corn and soybeans and not so much by the way of sorghum. You also have a lot of winter wheat, so you can figure out the spread of different land use types by area, right? You can also download these as a .csv file, right? So this is a very nice utility. You can actually bring this to Excel sheet. You can then bring it back to the image. You can study the image from the Excel sheet. So it gives you a very nice, functionality. We can also draw a pie chart. It's much more sort of elaborate here. The pie chart is dynamic. I can actually go over different regions and it will tell me what's the percentage, what's the crop type, what's the area, what's the percentage, and so on and so forth. Similarly, I can also draw a bar chart, which gives me an understanding of what's the area coverage across different types. From a pie chart to a bar chart, similar understanding, but here is another functionality, all right. Another very nice functionality that Cropscape provides is what is called as the change analysis. Under change analysis, for my area of interest, which is the Michigan, state of Michigan in the United States, I can choose or select a reference year. Let's say the reference year was 2008. And I can choose another year. I'm going to choose the latest one, let's say 2021. And this functionality, when I click on submit, will do a change analysis for me. Let's see what this change analysis looks like. We'll wait for a minute till it works out the statistic that we are trying to calculate. And by the way, all these statistics, all these functionalities that we are seeing the website do, we will learn to do on a software. So none of these things that we are doing here, we have to be restricted by a website, but this is just a starting point where I'm just trying to sort of show you what is possible, just by going on a website and studying a data set, right? So what's the extent that is possible? Okay, so now I have a column which is called 2008 on the left and a column on 2021 on the right, and we have a pixel count, so number of pixels in each category of change, and then acreage. So what it's showing me is that alfalfa, which is a crop type, is going to corn, is conversion from alfalfa to corn on 184,146 acres, 1,84,146.5 acres have converted from alfalfa to corn from 2008 to 2021, which is a really interesting statistic. This tells you the dynamics of how decisions are happening in this region, right? And then we can figure out some other important land use change categories. So for example, we can look at, we see that some fallow or idle land in 2008 went into growing winter wheat, and about 1,163 acres went from fallow or idle cropland to winter wheat, right? So this is a very sort of interesting analysis which you can download again as a CSV file. You can study it, you can take it to a statistical software or draw these bar graphs, pie charts on Excel, and then you can then also export it for a selected crop change. So I can actually select, I could have selected alfalfa and then exported that only. These are very interesting functionalities, so I'm gonna let you sort of work with these functionalities. You can also swipe these, so you can have 2021 and 2008, and you can start to sort of swipe them over each other. You can start to swipe them. You can see the change across on space. So of course you have a tabular understanding that I showed you previously. It takes a bit of time to load, but you can see that you can actually swipe, 2021. You can see what 2008 was and how 2021 looks, right? So you should be able to see a lot of alpha which is pink becoming yellow, which is corn, which is what the tabular understanding gave us. So I invite you to go ahead and play with these features on this website and do your analysis for yourself, some analyses for yourself, right? Okay, so let's go back to a little exercise that we had given ourselves, which is to analyze an area of interest around the Guwahati metropolitan area. Let's go back to the Bhuvan, land use, land cover data set. So I'm going to again sort of look for land use, land cover 2005-6, and in geography, because I need to go study Guwahati. I know that it's in Assam, so I'm gonna select Assam and I'm gonna say view. So I'm gonna narrow down my interest to the area of that I need to go and look at. So now when I look at this map, I can't really tell where is Guwahati. So what I do is I go to my overlay function and I use under navigational layers what are called as Rediff maps. So if you click on Rediff maps, you will see that we are able to identify a region where we can see Guwahati. We can zoom in a little bit and narrow down our search a little bit more further. So here we go. So on my screen now you see Guwahati coming out to be this red region, which is encouraging, because I know for a fact that Guwahati is a metropolitan urban area. I have this is the Brahmaputra river on which the city is located, and on these red spots are really the good Guwahati metropolitan area. So I now next want to draw an area of interest and conduct an analysis on this area. So I go to analysis, I say draw AOI, area of interest, and I'm going to draw an AOI, let's say, on the central Guwahati region. Once I've drawn my AOI, I'm going to click analyze, and it's going to load for a minute, but here we go. So here's an analysis of the land use distribution in my area of interest for the Guwahati metropolitan area. I have about 70% urban land, which is clear in my squared area of interest. I see the red region is dominating. It's about 70% of what's out there. The second most dominant region is the scrubland, which are about 21%, which is interesting. So all these lands are scrubland. There is also some river. I've taken some river on the northwest corner of my area of interest. I've taken a patch of the river. So this patch is less than 1% of my area of interest. So I'm not looking at the river region for my study, right? So the study that I'm conducting, I'm going to conduct with this area of interest, right? So the total area of my polygon that I've drawn is 102.8 square kilometers, and interestingly, I can see all the different layers that I want to study. I can go back to the overlay function. I can also look at the taluks. If they are available, I'll be able to see if the Guwahati metropolitan area lies within a particular taluk, right? So you see to be able to see it further, we'll just zoom out a little bit and see if we can delineate different taluks. Yes, we can. So these are the boundaries of taluks, and we see that a taluk, these white lines are much bigger than the area of interest that I have drawn on this figure, right? So you can do different things. You can look at water bodies, you can look at the roads, which roads are available. You can look at flood hazard in our area of interest, right? You can zoom in, zoom out. You can change your area of interest. You can go back, refresh the screen, and draw a new area of interest, right? you can look at district-wise statistics. Everything that we looked for, we did for Uttar Pradesh is also possible for the state of Assam. So this, Bhuvan data set provides you a nice functionality all in all, right? And the Cropscape data sets. These data sets provide you a very nice functionality to at least begin your analysis, on this web-based server, even before you go ahead and do something extensive on, on your software or, anything else. We will, on the other hand, actually learn to do these things by scratch, right? We don't have to rely on this web server. We can take the data, we can create all this analysis and even more, much more, if we learn how to do these, on software like ArcGIS or R and so on and so forth. Okay, so thank you very much for your attention. Please, work on these data sets. Please, visualize them, use them for different purposes so that you have an understanding of how, the raster data sets look like, what is a vector, and so on and so forth. Okay, thank you so much for your attention.